What's up, Viral Visionaries? This week we're going to be talking about how to start your own YouTube channel or social media platform, both for just scratching that itch to be a content creator, but also how to really propel your business with value add content and building your personal brand. This is a topic that I give keynotes on. It could be a very, very long video, but we're going to do our best to keep this one short. What I want to talk about is I don't have this scripted. I'm just going to be going off of a few conversations I've had this past week with both clients as well as some friends who are looking to get into the creator space. We're going to talk about some of the realities of being a content creator, as well as how to actually go about this. My goal is to give you the tools to start for less than $50. I will, if you look in the description, if you're watching this on YouTube, include a full list of all the materials and equipment that you need. Future me here with a quick insert because I completely forgot to talk about this during filming, but yes, you can make money at YouTube as well. And just based on ad revenue, if you do nothing else, you actually can make a living. Granted, it's a lot of work if you're doing it full time, but just passively, I want to show you this actual dashboard for a real video of mine. This is a tutorial, basically how to back a semi-truck or a trailer specifically that I filmed for Swift Transportation. And I directed this video, got paid for it up front, but because we hold the copyright, I uploaded it to my YouTube channel. And it's gotten millions of views. As of March 2025, it has over 4 million views, and it's made me just in ad revenue, no including what I got paid up front or any of the packages that I've sold from this video to other people who have seen the content. Just from ads alone is over $17,000. So that's pre-roll ads, mid-roll ads, post-roll ads, the variety of services that YouTube has for for instance, for people to subscribe and become super fans or whatever it's called, it changes. But over $17,000 actually in my pocket is what I've made just from putting this video online. So you don't have to put a lot into this to just have passive revenue coming in from YouTube. If you're already a content creator, if you're posting on your Snapchat story, on your Instagram story, that is perfect because you can just take that same exact content, put it on YouTube, monetize it. We're going to talk about a little bit of those strategies and how to do that. But I just wanted to add that real quick that yes, you can make money both on YouTube and using your YouTube channel for other business purposes. My setup here is a little bit more advanced just because I've been in the creative world for over 15 years now. You can't really see it, but I have a light bar that I built all around my studio here, as well as obviously this microphone on an arm. So I'm not wearing a microphone, it's just right there. Basically, it looks like a gantry crane on the suspended rail system. And so I've got multiple lights, which I'll show you here very, very shortly, and a lot of other stuff built in that you don't need. For instance, there's a computer monitor here on a gas spring arm. There's my laptop here on a stand with a secondary laptop. I've got 2 studio monitors for pro audio. That being said, let's dive into, first of all, what is a personal brand? Your personal brand, I think, is anything that people are thinking of when they hear your name or when they hear your business, right? And I think a personal brand is much more powerful for outreach, marketing, education, that sort of thing than your company brand, because your company is a culmination of you. So granted, it's important to have both. If you are, for instance, a personal trainer, you are training your clients. So if you have a gym, that's awesome. Your gym should definitely have an Instagram, right? Because you can run paid ads, you can run promotions, you can do all sorts of competitions with your membership. That's important to have, but also important to have is your personal brand, because again, you are the personal trainer, you're the face of this. So having evergreen content, and you'll hear me reference evergreen content, is important. And what evergreen content is basically, in a nutshell, content that stays evergreen, hence the name, at its most basic, but that's timeless things essentially. So macros, unless something really drastic comes out in the field of nutrition and research here shortly, in the next year or two, it's not going to go away for a while. And, theoretically decades into the future, this content is still valid. If you talk about your macros, right, and what you want to hit, if you talk about supplementation routines and regimens, if you talk about isometric training. Like all these are evergreen topics, which aren't going to go away. So that's important to have. But also important is the overall brand, right? So what is your name? We can talk about naming for a long, long time. You might want to think about a stage name or a moniker that you can use. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, right? He came up with The Rock. When you hear The Rock, you know who he is. And that's a really good personal branding tool that a lot of people do. Again, this is a whole keynote that we can have a discussion about. But once you come up with your name, you have your brand, then the imagery is important, right? So for me, it was important to build out something that is consistent so you know what you're getting, and it doesn't change every single video, because that's a different style. I've done that. I've had that TV show, we're Talk Around Town. We were literally in a different location every episode of season 3. What's important to me is the consistency of it, the consistency of the messaging, and being able to tell people the story. So when you're starting from a technical perspective, all you need is a phone, really, right? Or any type of camera, and to have a good story. It's much, much more important to have good content that people are going to listen to than it is to have, a high resolution 8K Sony, or, what I'm shooting with right here, which is a DSLR and a wide angle lens. Like, that's all upgradable in the future, but you don't need that to start with. I'm going to talk quickly about lighting, because that is important. So whatever camera you have, whether it's your cell phone, a GoPro, doesn't matter, right? And there's editing software like CapCut is free, which I'll link as well. I prefer DaVinci Resolve, which is also free. I obviously use the Pro Studio version, but you can get into the NLE editing software, but also CapCut has an app on your phone. So if you're shooting on your phone, that's a great place to start, semi-pro. If you're interviewing people and doing podcasting, Riverside is a great platform. But let's talk about lighting. I'm going to go ahead and turn my studio lights off. And I do have them on my phone. So we're going to talk about the import of lighting. Obviously right here, I've got my on-camera light, which helps me not look so exhausted all the time, that front lighting to kind of lighten up the bags under my eyes. But all joking aside, having a little baby and waking up at 4 a.m. to go to the gym and then film this content before I go to work, it wears you down. Sometimes you're tired. Sometimes you don't look the best. One trick for this, just fun fact that we use in TV, I guess I should turn on a light so you can see me. But one fun fact is we actually, for TV, use Preparation H, the hemorrhoid cream. But you take a little dab of that, just rub it underneath your eye. Don't get it in your eye, but it'll actually help dry that out or tighten it or whatever it does. But gets rid of the bag appearance for a little bit. So if you're ever on TV where it's crucial that you're doing something to alleviate that and you don't know the lighting situation, just go pick some of that up, put a little dab on, check with a physician first. But that's that. So the first thing is these two lights are separate. This is my candle warmer that I can turn on and off. So that's totally separate. This has a little toggle switch. And my wife actually got it for me. It's a lightning bolt because I got struck by lightning when I was 17, which you can read about at mysecondbirthday.com. There's a book coming out shortly as well. But that's a little homage to that. So that's just kind of a fun set piece. My two lights that you just saw turn on and off are what are called key and fill. So aside from the camera light, you might be able to see me a little bit. But the key light is really the most important one. So that's going to give you can see on my hand, it's super bright up from over there. That is going to primarily illuminate me, and I can adjust the brightness on that, the color tone, all that sort of thing. Then you have what's called a fill light, which is this one over here. That's just going to fill in the other part of my face. I have that more on a daylight tone because that's the side that a window's on. So if I want the window open when it's the daytime, primarily, again, I do my content at 5 a.m. or before the sun is up, but that will fill in more naturally my face. The next thing is a hair light, and that's going to be back here. That's going to shoot onto my head and give it this little kind of orangey hue on my hair, which you might be able to see a little bit. That's just a nice touch that we use in TV and pro video. Again, really all you need is essentially a key light, which is that one. The hair light adds a little bit, and then your fill light will fill in your face. Now, aside from that, I have a background accent light. That's going to be, I believe, this one shining over on my shelf with the books there. So yeah, that one points over that direction, just gives it a little bit of oomph on that wall, as well as the poster. And that's actually a picture of the Hale-Bopp Comet that my friend and mentor Tom Bopp gave me, autographed. Really, really meaningful piece to me. And so it was important when I was setting out my studio that had a light on it, as well as just sharing the bookshelf a little bit. And eventually I might replace that with more of a distinct spotlight. The next one is this light, and this is what I wanted to talk about. This is how you can do cheap, easy lighting. Instead of buying these lights that are a few $100 each, you can get this, which is an LED work light from Home Depot. It's like $20. And then I just put a red gel over it, so it gives it a little bit of this this red hue. When I turn it on, you can see that it gives it a little bit of ambiance there. But I also have the gel set, so there's a little bit of a splash on this shelf that's still white, because that's the color of the LED. So we'll turn that off and on again. You can see it's got kind of both, right? So right here, it's more white. Over on the shelf as well. Over on this wall, it's going to be a little bit more red, and then I get a little bit of that red hue on me as well. My light bar I have plugged in over here, and that's completely variable. I can change that from my phone, but right now it's on yellow, just their company colors. One easy thing to do is this does have a power cable. You can't see it though because it's hidden underneath the carpet. What do I mean by that? Well, most carpets, I will say, have some play. So if you go to a corner, either grab pliers, and you can just, these are just some broad pliers, and I just use the tip to kind of grab a couple fibers and gently pull, like roll that edge back. Then you can get your fingers underneath there and space it out all the way down to wherever you need to run that cable. It's not affecting the actual carpet stick because the tack strip is about a ½ inch in on most carpets. Again, I'm not a GC. Check with a GC or a flooring person if you have questions about your house. But here it worked out really well because I just ran the cable over to one of the outlets, used a smart switch, and then ran the cable essentially. So you can do all of this without drilling into a wall. In the description there, the plugs that I use, there's some GoSund plugs. Again, the type doesn't really matter. I have an Amazon smart plug, and then not going to say her name, but the little smart device from Amazon over there. Basically, in the app, I just have all this plugged into. So I can use my voice. I have different modes. So for meetings, when I'm just doing like Zoom calls for my day job, I'll have those two lights and my hair light. So key, fill, and hair. For this kind of creative content, we've got the whole shebang going on where, I've got the light bar, I've got this. The cool part is I can talk to it. Those lights come on, and then it's a very professional, even look. Again, that's super, super advanced. The basics that you need are a camera, decent lighting, and if you don't have any lights, you can go buy a $20 work light, like an LED, which is fine. Just, I would recommend bounce it off of a white wall so you get that softer light. Just make sure it's somewhere like 45-ish degrees off your face, and then that's at least better than nothing. If you can do any content in natural lighting, that also works well. Just watch for the shadows. If you're like outside on a sunny day, usually overcast is better for that. But from there, basically you just create the channel. And this is where it gets a little bit into the weeds with the specifics, because Google tends to update a lot all the time. With YouTube, the GA4 analytics recently changed. So if you have any analytics that are separate from the YouTube Creator Studio, that's not going to work unless you set up a GA4 profile and then integrate into your website. Give us a call if you have questions with that, 623-850-3275. This is what we do at Live Viral Media. I've helped a bunch of people this week actually do that. Strategy is important as well. So if you are a dentist, for instance, and you're promoting content to get clients in, that's going to be a very different strategy than if we're managing your website at Live Viral and we're telling you, hey, let's create content that you can use in automated text messages or that you can use in email campaigns. The purpose is different. So content can be very long form like this, and then you just break it up into smaller segments. If you're doing the marketing campaign, for instance, it's going to be shorts, reels, really utilizing that discovery feature heavily, maybe podcasting. But then if you're using it for, again, client communications, it's going to be something just like this, talking to the camera, and going from there. The other thing that I see people do often incorrectly is they'll set it up and not take advantage of all the features. I will say that when you are creating a YouTube or any social account, what you're going to want to do is use a primary email address. I see this mistake all too often with clients where you use your work email address and then there's a server issue and then you get locked out. I use a personal email for this YouTube channel, but then I have content mods, or I'll invite members of my team in different user roles. If you lose Gmail because Google's going out of business, you're losing YouTube anyway. That's kind of my thought process with it. So I prefer a personal Gmail account. Don't use a school email. If you go to college and they give you an email address, I've seen people use that. Your college will lock you out, almost guaranteed, once you graduate. Usually they'll give you a grace period of a little bit, but don't risk it because, again, you might lose your channel. And then really just make sure that you've got the best practices set up. And if you have a question on what those are, check out liveviralmedia.com. Subscribe to our newsletter if you're watching this on YouTube. Just go to danweeks.com and we'll have some more content on there. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you want to see in the next episode. I'm happy to talk about anything branding, marketing, or creative. This has been the Viral Edge newsletter. And again, if you're on YouTube, danweeks.com or liveviralmedia.com to subscribe. Thanks, and we'll catch you next time.